Good morning, guys. Hope everyone's doing good. This is the market preview for November 15th, 2017. We are having a nice little gap down this morning. Let's get Globex high and low in, and then we will roll from there. Obviously, all the charts have been posted up. Let's just start with ES, and then we'll roll from there. Globex high and low. I believe the white zone held last night. 25.62 is Globex low. I'm not going to put another line there. I'm just going to mark it off as Globex low. I still expect a response there. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then Globex high came in at 25.76, 77. I think we pretty much opened there. So the blue line is Globex high. I just marked off Globex low. Let's do NQ really quick and see how the overnight. We're finally getting some awesome markets, and that's nice. Let's see, Globex high on NQ is 62.94.75. Never got up into that. And I was worried about this white zone, but turned out to be just fine. And then 62.56.25. Back of the yellow zone, which is exactly where I wanted it on the second touch yesterday. Okay, there's Globex low, highs in there. Let's save it. I'm not worried about Globex high and low on the Russell. It's pretty mechanical. It just trades like it trades. Hold on one second here. Okay, before we get started, let's get the disclaimer out of the way. This is Simon with ToughTrader.com and Trading Perform Coaching. Past performance is not indicative of future results. This is for educational purposes only. Please do not follow me blindly. If you're not familiar with my trading style, take time to learn it, right? That's all there is to it. The goal of this is to help you learn about trading, to share my trade plan with you. It's my trade plan, my risk that I'm comfortable with, that you take that and you adopt the pieces that you like to your own trading. The only thing I encourage everyone, make sure this is going. Okay, there we go. I don't know why that wasn't sharing before, but hopefully it's sharing on YouTube now. The one thing I encourage you, and if you're consistently losing money, stop trading, right? Stop trading. Paper trade. Make sure you have a written trade plan and one that actually has an edge. You do not have to burn up your account to learn trading. It's hard. There's only about a 5% long-term success rate for day trading specifically. The more trades you make, the harder it is to succeed at a high win rate, right? And it takes time to develop the skill to become a master trader, just like everything else, right? So that being said, there's the disclaimer. Let's move on with the day. We are gapping down. I put down in the notes, obviously for members last night, you will see that I am concerned about the opening rotations and I am concerned about the open. I'm not concerned in terms of which way we go, but we are due for a strong open drive higher. Okay, got it. So Gartman is calling for a bear market. Thank you, Peter. And is that the reason for the gap down? Because that's a pretty ridiculous reason to gap down. I didn't know what the news was. I heard some grumblings about China and North Korea last night. Wasn't sure what that was all about. But if this is remote, can someone in the room fill me in as to why is it Gartman? Is that the reason why? Was there any actual event? Because I didn't see anything out there. I was hoping there was actually an event. Either way, right, markets pushing down is normal. Right? What we're due for and what my concern is that as the rotations are opening, two things that I'm concerned about, and I want to share that before I go in. First of all, if we end up with an open auction, US dollar down, got it. Okay, thank you, Peter. If we open with an open auction, the volatility is increasing, right? So Whereas before, a 5 or 10 point stop would keep you in NQ and allow you to hold it to your trade, that is likely to expand in the first 15 minutes, meaning we can still have an open auction. You can still get the direction right. Let's say we open on NQ. You can have an open auction where it goes up and down and back up and then continues either way, whichever way you're looking for it. But this can encompass a 15-point range. That's $300 per contract. If you don't get your location right in this, you can end up stopping out for a pretty sizable loss. James, I'm sorry. I thought I sent it last night. Hold on one second. Maybe I missed you. I can. Guys, apparently I missed some people on the TradeStation files. I'll get it done right now. Guys, if y'all can hit me early in the morning on that or send me an email, you should have it in the evening. If you haven't received it when you wake up, let me know. Hold on one second. I'll get it out to you. Guys, the TradeStation file, oh, I see what's going on here. I sent the wrong one. I sent yesterday. One second. I got it. I'll fix it. I know what happened. I sent the 14th instead of the 15th. Be ready in just one second. Okay. That is the TSW file. Sent. Y'all should have that any second now. I see why there was a problem. All corrected, right? So that is my primary concern is trading the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, is that you get direction right and you just get whipsawed in and out because you don't have location correct. That's the challenge. The easiest way to fix this challenge is to simply decide that you're going to pass up on the first half hour. Additionally, we're due for an open drive higher or open drive lower. Please be aware of that. The emotions are going to start to get high. It's a natural occurrence when you whipsaw people back and forth like this, right? They are going to get edgier and edgier, really. They're going to get edgier and edgier as we push back and forth, right? That forces them earlier and earlier to get more and more nervous. Hence, the whipsaws get bigger and bigger, right? That's a natural result of range increasing, okay? So the better trades, the easier trades, if you're worried about this, is to wait past the first half hour. And given the range that we've had, we should get plenty of setups through the course of the day, right? So the primary plan is to take the first touch of the white zone, right? Now, this is yellow zone. The reason why this, so let's go to NQ first, and then we'll go to ES. If we look at NQ, okay, number one, let's get a bigger picture of what's going on NQ, and then draw it down to the trade plan. How am I doing on time? I'm doing good. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, let me collapse this back down to the single prints. There we go. Here is an ES. ES, where's my NQ? There's my NQ for overnight. Let me suck this in just a little bit. There we go. You can see we're trading underneath yesterday's value, right? So number one, what does yesterday's value represent? That's where 70% of the volume went off, right? That's where 70% of the volume went off. We had kind of a wide point of control. It really wasn't concentrated. The TPO and the volume point of control are all concentrated around 62.92 to 62.96. Let's just call it for general reasoning, right? In order to move up, we must get above this area, right? Because remember, this is overnight. So this is the day session yesterday. We must get above this in order to push higher, right? If we can get above this, this will act as support. We had a decent low, and we have a poor high, at least by my definition of a poor high and a poor low from what I like. Hold on one second here. We have a poor low and we have a poor high, right? We have a good low and we have a poor high. We tested below that low. We got a sing-song into the yellow zone, right? and we popped out of it. You can see overnight, all the volume build and all the time build is in the exact same location, 62.75. So you can build some markers, right? The first marker or the first thing to watch for is, are we trading above the overnight point of control, 62.75 to 62 to, well, basically 62.75 is it, right? Value area high, let's call it 62.80 to 62.75. That's the first thing that has to be gotten above. If we get above that, we are going to run into all of yesterday's volume area. Volume, just like an army, this is territory that was hard fought. It was won by the bears, and the bears will defend it. Additionally, people who try to get long for the pop to the upside and find themselves underwater this morning will want to get a refund, right, on the push back in. So the only exception to this is if we open up, open drive higher, get past the overnight point of control and through the open gap, 62.92, right? And from where we're trading right now, 62.67, 30 points up puts us right into the point of control. Guess what you're likely to run into? A counter rotation right in this area from overnight, right? 30 points have been pretty key. On the other hand, if we open up and we fail to get above the point of control and close above the point of control, we will also fail in the first half hour to get back into value. That is bearish, right? Does not mean we'll necessarily have a trend day down, but if we fail to close the gap or even the half gap in the first half hour and we don't close back into value during the regular trading session, I will be all heads up for a big rotation to the downside, meaning I want to make sure that if I'm taking a trade, I have a fat 30-point plus rotation, right? And what am I looking for every day? As we push down, right? So we push down. If we start getting vertical like this, literally meaning we're at a 90-degree angle down, right? What I want to see is, if this is my last seller right here, I want to see a close above that seller. And then I have two choices here depending on how I want to execute. I either automatically execute, stop at the low. It's hard to do that if you're a highly leveraged trader, or look for 50, 60s back and pushes back up. If we get into this 90-degree angle, odds are I am scalping at half size so I don't get annihilated if we just end up with a falling piano that doesn't end, right? And then let's say I buy into a white zone on half size. This only assumes that we have this type of angle, right? And then I get back above my last seller on that 50, 60 back. I'll probably scalped and scaled some of that half size. I will add back what I've scaled plus bump the position to a full size position because I now have a pretty good control with regards to a low for a push back up. That is my clearest non-zone setup for the day. That is what I'm looking for. I do not know where it'll come. I'll know it when I see it. We had a good example of it yesterday, and I'll point it out. We had a good example of it 2 times, okay? So I have this seared in my brain. I know I want this pattern, and I'm willing to wait it out. I'm not concerned. And what's the difficulty with waiting for this if you're not buying the half size into the zone is that we just get a V shape. That happens sometimes, right? That's just part of the cost of doing business. I just shrug my shoulders if I don't get the trade. But so I've come up with a moderation of the two, right? Half size into the zone, full size on the 50, 60 back. That's how I will adapt for a wider ranging, faster moving market. It's easier for me just to work that way. So that's what I'm working on. The zones are fine. I expect the zones to continue to have a high win rate. Okay. So my markers for this morning is, can I trade back into yesterday's value area low? So you should write this down, right? There's a series of questions. Have we traded into value area low from prior day? Have we closed in on a 30-minute bar? If we close in on a 30-minute bar, it does not mean we cannot roll back down, but it really reduces the odds that we end up with a trend day down. If we fail to close back in, it really increases the odds that we have a chance of having a true trend day down, although in this environment, that's pretty hard to garner. Okay, so we have a lay of the land. We know that there's resistance above. We know that we have a poor high, and I'd love to find the ability. What I'm looking for today is I'm looking to trap shorts, right? We get over aggressive on the downside, right? And that's going to come through either this method or we come down, we trade sideways, trying to show exactly what I'm looking for. We make a push to break below, and then the bar closes. The body of the bar that breaks the low closes back within the body of these bars over here, right? If it closes right, if it wicks down, but the body closes below, it's no good for me. I'll wait till we get above. But if we push down and the body of that candle closes back into the bodies of these candles, I'm long almost immediately for a trap and a push to the upside. That's my second setup. I'll try to find an example of that, right? And then my third setup is we're pushing down and we get tick divergence. That's old school, right, into the low. And I am looking for a push back up. Once I get above my last seller, I will ignore almost all sell signals until I get a sideways consolidation lasting at least an hour to an hour and a half with an inability to break to the high or break to the high and then a trap back into that consolidation for a push lower. Again, once I get above my last seller, I will ignore my short signals, particularly on ES if we're down 20 to 30 points, and NQ anything beyond 60 points. I will ignore all my short signals because what it's likely to do is like it's done every other day. Even if the shorts work, that'll probably continue to push up just like that when we get people overcommitted on the short side. Let's go take a look at the lay of the land on ES really quick, and then I'll point out the zones. I have a couple of notes there. I don't know why I have so many charts here, but that's fine. Okay, on ES, you can see we have a volume build above. This is a breakdown profile into the overnight high and low. This, let me spread this out a bit. So you can see we built a considerable amount of consolidation and volume above. Expect, right, when we get here, roughly, when we get here, right about here, 25.75, 74.75, all the way through 83. Expect it to grind through this area. Why? We have a ton of volume build here. There's people that are looking for a refund on their trade because if you bought here, you went long, right? You didn't go long here thinking, oh, we're going to go down another 20 points, so I'm pretty comfortable. You're like, hey, I'm buying here because we're breaking out, right? So when we get back up into this area, expect to find sellers. We have a naked volume point of control and an open gap at 25.79. Expect responsive sellers. That would also be, again, a 15-point rotation up. I am looking for responsive sellers in this area, and I'm probably looking for a trade out of this area if and when we get up here, right? 25.76 is yesterday's high, is yesterday's point of control, volume point of control, excuse me, TPO point of control. The volume point of control is a little bit higher. This whole thing will be pretty contentious. This whole area will become pretty contentious with being able to get a straightforward move out of it. And I plan to be on my toes and also plan for it to be possibly grinding in this area just because of all of the volume build that's in here, right? Below, we're relatively poorly auctioned and we could really start slipping. I'm going to cover that in just 1 second. So for the overnight, right, the one thing I want to pay attention to is I want to see if on a half-hour basis, can we close back above 25.72 on a half-hour bar, right? If we can close back in, we close back into value. That takes the trend day down off the table, and I'm going to expect most likely balance, right? Short of the open drive higher, if I end up with an open drive higher, I'm going to look for a sideways consolidation that lasts for more than an hour and a half, and then I'll start looking for shorts against that. And I expect, again, potential responsive sellers near 25.76 up to 25.79. That's where I'm looking for responsive sellers. If I get above them, right, I just expect a slow go because in order to get up here, we're going to have to spend a lot of energy to get through all these guys. And so I doubt it just does a face ripper. Unless we get to the end of the day and we bury everyone short and the market just gets too short, and then we rip back up, okay? So all your volumes above, we're pretty loose below, meaning it's not well auctioned. It could easily slip, right? And I'm watching again for open drive lower. That's my biggest concern this morning, okay? So let's go to the charts really quick. Let me switch this over to the next TPO that I want. Make sure I have all my TPs up correctly. Russell, I'm going to minimize. There's NQ. There's ES just from the day session. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, let us minimize this. Okay, so on NQ, I wrote a couple of notes. This was a former white zone that I said, so specifically targeting the back of the zone, which is exactly what hit last night, right? for a target back out. I still expect this to give a response. You will not get, we're trading at 62.68. To test this will be roughly a 13-point rotation, not a 30-point rotation. Decide whether you're comfortable with the stop, and also be aware if you take this area, right? This is single prints, right? And then this is last week's swing low. This whole area from 62.62 all the way down to 62.44 is important, okay? Single prints are always a green area. Under heavy emotional selling, single prints do not hold. Under mechanical trading, single prints do hold. If you take the back of this zone, you have to be mentally prepared to trade all the way back to 62.44. The way I plan to do this is I plan to layer in from 62.55 back to 62.44. Hopefully, if we push all the way back, my average cost ends up at about 62.50, right? And then I will end up with a 10-point stop behind. Notice that puts me at 34, right, as a stop. That puts me at 34 stop and a white zone right behind at 62.29. The easiest way to do this is go 62.68 minus 30 puts me at 38, right? And then see if we get over our last seller in this zone for a push-up and a trap back above last week's swing low. Let me say that again slowly so everyone gets it. If you're aggressive, you're just taking the trade into this area, right? This is 30 down as of where we're trading right now, right? That makes this ideal. This is what I am targeting primarily because I don't have to think much about it. I'm pretty much planning to look for responsive sellers at 62.29, stop 62.10, right? Which, by the way, that area gets tricky because then I'm into another key area, but we'll discuss that in a moment. See, then I get into the, I'm almost 100 down on the day at that point. So that's why I'm saying if you skip the first half hour, this day probably gets a little bit easier and you don't get drubbed, right? If you take the trade here, right, you have to be thinking, I definitely want to try to get long out of this 62.29. So you have to be thinking, I'm willing to take the stop here and reload here, right? Or you go, I'm skipping the first half hour. I'll see where we stand, and then I'll look for my setup because I know I'm out of the way of most likely getting straight out run over early in the morning. Does that make sense to everyone? Am I being clear? I'm taking this area, right? That's my plan is I'm looking for responsive buying. I'm not sure exactly where I'll tag it. I'll watch the open, but I'm planning to work right at the back of this zone into the greens, right? I will do it on smaller size if it happens in the first half hour so I can survive to take this trade here, right? With the caveat of if we just open up and just drilling straight down, I may pause for a moment, but that's my plan in the first half hour. After the first half hour here, I'll look for a reversal pattern here, but it's not automatic. And I'll take 61.84 to 61.81. That'll be down over 100. I'm planning to take it. In my notes, the bars are likely to be 20 points wide on NQ in this area. Please, please, please be aware. Get your risk reward right. You're down over 100. You're likely to get a fat rotation. And you can wait. And for those of you who can't handle those wide rotations into the zones, wait till we get above the last seller. Look for a 50-60 back. You get a well-defined entry, exit, stop, right? Versus just catching it in a free fall if that's demoralizing to you. That's my biggest concern this morning, right? Above, right? I'm looking to trade back into value on the upside. At 62.90 to 62.96, I will between 62.90 and 63.02, I will be fading in. Again, I'm expecting rotation sizes to get bigger, so I'm allowing back to 63.02. We've stopped at this 62.90 multiple times, right? This is the aggressive area. This is the area I want, 63.15 to 63.19. This will be a big stretch up from 66.67. That puts us into 30 up, right? This puts us up to just over 30. On the yellow zone above, notice the yellow zone goes all the way from 63.30. This is this week's high. The reason why this is a yellow zone and not a white zone is because it's a very weak high and you're back to all-time highs, right? Banging it out and betting they're not going to bust it out after a full reversal. You want some kind of sign. We either consolidate and go sideways. We go sideways through here and exhaust into this area. But I'm cautious up here. I need to see help read the price action in this area. So to say it one more time on NQ. Please don't lock up on me, TradeStation. Here, let's see if I can break this. Really? Here, sometimes I can. Here, let's. Really? TradeStation, you truly suck sometimes. We'll see if this does it. Okay, I have another way to break that little trick of yours. Okay, there we go. So I'm planning to trade at the back of the yellow zone, in through the green zone at the open, looking for a reversal. I'm cutting size if it's the first half hour. I'm planning to look for responsive buyers here. I'm probably limit order at 62.29, right? I'm looking for a reversal pattern out of this area, but it's not automatic for me. And that's pretty much automatic for me right there. This is half size double stop to account for the wider range it's likely to accompany this area. And I am looking for a swing out of this area back into the 62.20 area or higher, right? Hopefully this comes later in the morning, like around 10:30, if we get there, right? I'm not bearish, okay? On the short side, I'm looking for 30-point rotations up, and I'm cautious that the market's gotten too short overnight and they're pressing too hard to the downside. I want to watch the PA before I get aggressive on the short side. You notice I left this whole range, does not have a zone, and it's because we swept the whole range in here. Don't get caught short or long in this area and then be surprised if you're taking out of position that you get swept either way or both ways, right? There's a reason why I didn't put a zone in here, and it's because it's all poorly auctioned, and we've demonstrated an ability multiple times now to sweep this area. Okay. On ES, I can't believe we just opened. 1 second. Please don't. I'm going to wrap up really quickly here. ES, you'll notice we're below 25.72. That's where the hourly build is. My plan is to take the first trade into the white zone, specifically targeting 62 to 60, right? If it's in the first half hour, I understand that I might get beat up. Insert tick. And again, the best way to avoid getting annihilated, negative 1100, right? I wouldn't short into a negative 1100. Gap down, I'll wait. I want to see if we get open drive higher or open drive lower. Okay. And push that out just a little bit. And then again, I'm going to see if I can get above my last seller before I go get all gung-ho about jumping in one way or the other. Okay. Anyways, guys, thank you all for joining me this morning. Guys in the room, I'm jumping into the room to stay in the room. Guys on YouTube, if you'd like to join us, send an email to tradeandperform@gmail.com. If you'd like to visit us in the room for 5 days, happy to extend that. And again, white zone, those are my primary targets. Yellow zone's a maybe. And again, white zone, those are what I'm targeting for trade entries in this area. That combined with 10-point rotations. So have a wonderful day, guys. I will talk to y'all later.